The October morning came cold and merciless, the kind that seeps into bones and makes the world feel abandoned. Frost clung to car windows like desperate fingers, and the streets of Riverside, California lay quiet under a steel gray sky. Most people were inside warm safes, surrounded by the ordinary comfort of walls and roofs and the promise of breakfast. Marcus Daniels had none of those things. The 13-year-old boy sat behind Franklin Middle School, back pressed against a rusted dumpster that reeked of rotting food and forgotten things. Newspapers served as his blanket layers of yesterday's headlines, keeping the worst of the cold at bay. His clothes hung loose on a frame that had grown too thin over 7 months of survival. 7 months since his mother died. 7 months since the world stopped caring whether he lived or disappeared. He rubbed frost from his fingers, breathing into his hands for warmth. The school would open soon. He'd slip inside with the morning crowd, invisible as always, and steal what he could from the cafeteria. Yesterday's rolls, half-eaten sandwiches, anything to quiet the constant gnawing in his belly. But this morning, fate had other plans. Marcus was gathering his newspaper blankets when he heard something wrong. Not the usual sounds of buses arriving or kids laughing. Something else. Something that made his skin prickle with warning. A muffled shout from inside the building. Then another. The sharp crack of breaking glass. Marcus's head snapped toward the east wing. Thin tendrils of smoke curled from a second-floor window. At first, just wisps, barely visible against the gray sky. Then thicker, darker, and suddenly flames bright orange and hungry, licking up the brick exterior like living things reaching for the sky. The fire alarm shattered the morning silence. Piercing, relentless. Within seconds, doors burst open and students poured out, teachers herding them toward the parking lot. Voices overlapped in panic and confusion. Kids screaming, adults shouting instructions. Chaos blooming like the flames themselves. Marcus stood frozen, his survival instincts warring with something deeper. He should run, should get away before someone asked questions he couldn't answer. Before they noticed the homeless boy who had no right to be here. But his eyes locked on one window. Second floor east hallway. A girl's face pressed against the glass. Blonde hair, small hands slapping frantically at the window. Mouth open in a scream he couldn't hear over the alarm and the growing roar of fire. She was trapped. Everyone else was running away. Teachers counting heads, students crying, parents arriving in panic. But no one was looking up. No one saw the girl behind that window, smoke already darkening the glass around her. Marcus didn't think, didn't plan, didn't weigh the risks or calculate his chances. He just moved. His bare feet slapped against freezing pavement as he sprinted toward the side entrance. A teacher grabbed his shoulder, her grip tight with authority and fear. "Kid, get back. The building's on fire." Marcus twisted free with the desperate strength of someone who'd learned to escape grasping hands. "There's someone inside. The fire department is coming. You can't—" But Marcus was already gone, shoving through the door before anyone could stop him. The hallway hit him like a physical blow. Heat rolled over him in waves, stealing his breath. Smoke hung thick and black, acrid with the stench of burning plastic and paper and things that were never meant to burn. His eyes watered instantly. Coughing racked his thin chest, each breath like inhaling broken glass. He pulled his shirt over his mouth and nose. It didn't help much. The smoke was everywhere, filling his lungs, making his head swim. Emergency lights flickered red through the haze, casting everything in a hellish glow. He found the stairs and climbed. 2 at a time, his lungs screaming, his legs burning. But he kept moving because somewhere above him, a girl was dying. The second floor was worse. Flames crawled across ceiling tiles, dropping burning debris in his path. The heat was unbearable now, like standing too close to a furnace. He ducked under a falling beam, weaved around a pile of blazing papers, and kept moving. The girl's screams guided him, high-pitched, terrified, cutting through the roar of fire like a beacon. He found her behind a classroom door, the same girl from the window. Maybe 11 years old, blonde braids singed from heat, eyes wide with terror that went beyond simple fear. This was the look of someone who knew they were about to die. She pounded on the door's glass panel. "Help! Please help me!" Marcus grabbed the handle, locked. The metal burned his palm, and he yanked his hand back with a hiss of pain. The girl sobbed, choking on smoke that poured under the door in thick black clouds. Marcus looked around desperately. His vision was tunneling. His head felt light. He had maybe a minute before the smoke put him down for good. A fire extinguisher hung on the wall. He ripped it free and slammed it against the door's handle. Once, twice, three times. The lock mechanism shattered on the fourth hit. The door burst open and smoke billowed out like something alive and angry. Marcus lunged inside, grabbing the girl's arm. She weighed almost nothing, all bones and terror. "Come on." His voice was barely a rasp. "We have to move now." But even as he pulled her toward the door, she wasn't just following blindly. She grabbed his wrist, surprisingly strong for someone so small and pointed. "The gym. There's a window in the storage room that leads to the gym." Marcus looked where she pointed. Through the smoke, he could barely make out another door at the back of the classroom. Going back to the hallway meant going deeper into the fire. But the gym might give them a chance. "Show me, Ma." The girl stumbled, coughing so hard she could barely walk, but she led him to the back door. Marcus kicked it open. The storage room beyond was smaller, filling with smoke, but not yet burning. And there, exactly as she'd said, was a window. Marcus grabbed a chair and smashed it through. Glass shattered. Cold air rushed in, momentarily clearing the smoke. Beyond the window, the gym floor beckoned, maybe an 8-foot drop. "Can you make it?" The girl nodded, already climbing onto the windowsill. She was small enough to fit through easily. She hesitated for just a second, looking back at Marcus with eyes that were suddenly clear despite the smoke and fear. "What's your name, Marcus?" "I'm Sophia." She managed a small, brave smile. "Thank you, Marcus." Oh, and then she dropped through the window and was gone. Marcus followed, squeezing through the broken frame, feeling glass tear at his shirt. He hit the gym floor hard and rolled. Pain shot through his ankle, but he forced himself up. Sophia was already running toward the emergency exit at the far end of the gym. Marcus limped after her, his lungs burning his vision, spotting with darkness at the edges. They burst through the exit into blessed cold morning air. They collapsed on the grass. Marcus rolled onto his back, coughing violently, each breath a battle. His throat felt like he'd swallowed razors. His hands throbbed where the door handle had burned him. But he was alive. So was Sophia. She curled beside him, gasping and sobbing, her small body shaking. Tears cut clean tracks through the soot on her face. But she was breathing. That was all that mattered. Teachers and EMTs rushed toward them. Someone wrapped a blanket around Sophia. Someone else knelt beside Marcus, hands already checking his pulse, his breathing. "Son, are you hurt? Can you breathe?" Marcus nodded weakly, unable to speak. His vision swam. The world tilted sideways. He heard voices, urgent and concerned, but they seemed to come from very far away. Then Sophia grabbed his shirt with trembling fingers. She leaned close, her voice barely a whisper, but fierce with emotion. "You saved me. You saved my life." Marcus managed a small nod. The words felt too big, too important. He wanted to say something meaningful, something worthy of the moment. But all that came out was a hoarse rasp. "Couldn't leave you." Before anyone could say more, a sound rolled across the parking lot. Deep, thunderous, the unmistakable rumble of motorcycle engines. Not one or two. Many. A dozen, then more. They came around the corner in tight formation. Chrome gleaming in the morning light. Leather jackets dark against the chaos. And on every jacket, the same patch. The Hells Angels death head skull. Unmistakable. Infamous. The lead bike roared to a stop near the ambulances. The rider was massive, the kind of man who seemed built from different materials than normal people. 6.5 feet tall, shoulders like a linebacker, arms thick with muscle and covered in tattoos. A gray streaked beard framed a face that had seen violence and survived it. Hard eyes that could strip a man to his soul scanned the scene. The burning school, the crowd of terrified kids and teachers, and then those eyes locked on the girl wrapped in the EMT's blanket. "Sophia," his voice cracked with panic, with fear so deep it transformed a man made of iron into something fragile. "Sophia." The girl turned her head weakly. "Daddy." That single word just changed everything. The mountain of a man was off his bike in one fluid motion, sprinting toward his daughter with a speed that seemed impossible for someone his size. Other bikers followed, creating a protective circle, but the big man only had eyes for Sophia. He dropped to his knees beside her, pulling her into his arms so carefully as if she might shatter. His massive hands trembled as he checked her face, her arms looking for injuries. "You're okay. You're okay, baby. I've got you." His voice broke. This man, this Hell's Angel, who probably terrified everyone he met, was crying, tears cutting through the hard lines of his face as he held his daughter, and thank God she was alive. Sophia wrapped her arms around his neck. "I'm okay, Daddy. I'm okay because of him." She pulled back just enough to point at Marcus. The man Hawk, as his brothers called him, slowly turned his gaze to the boy lying on the grass, really looked at him for the first time, took in the soot-covered face, the bare feet, the clothes that were more holes than fabric, the way his ribs showed through his torn shirt. A homeless kid, a nobody, someone the world had forgotten, and this forgotten boy had run into a burning building to save a stranger. Hawk stood slowly, never taking his eyes off Marcus. The other angels parted as he approached. He crouched down, bringing himself to eye level with the boy who could barely keep his eyes open. "You." His voice was rough with emotion. "You pulled her out." Marcus swallowed hard, suddenly aware of how he must look. Filthy, pathetic, nobody worth noticing. Yeah, I couldn't just..." "What's your name, son?" "Marcus. Marcus Daniels, sir." Hawk placed one massive hand on Marcus' shoulder. The touch was gentle, despite the obvious power in it. Protective, almost reverent. "Marcus, you just saved my daughter's life." His voice dropped thick with an emotion Marcus couldn't name. "The Hells Angels don't forget that, ever." Fire trucks screamed into the parking lot, sirens drowning out everything else. But the bikers didn't move. They stood around Marcus and Sophia like sentinels, protective and immovable. Because saving the life of a Hells Angel's daughter doesn't end a story, it starts one. The paramedics worked quickly, their movements practiced and efficient, oxygen masks strapped to both Marcus and Sophia's faces. Vitals checked, pupils, examined burns, treated. Marcus sat on the ambulance bumper, a blanket around his shoulders that smelled like antiseptic and something vaguely medicinal. He watched the school burn. Flames fully engulfed the east wing now. The roof collapsed inward with a groan of tortured metal and wood. Everything he'd known for the past 7 months, his pathetic shelter behind the dumpster, was being erased by fire. His lungs ached. His hands stung where the burns were the worst. But he felt something else too. Something unfamiliar after months of being invisible. People were looking at him. Not through him, not past him. At him. Seeing him. Hawk stayed close to Sophia while she was examined, one arm around her shoulders, but his eyes kept returning to Marcus. Assessing, thinking, planning something Marcus couldn't begin to guess. Finally, Hawk approached. He crouched down to Marcus's eye level, a gesture that made the massive man seem almost gentle. "Kid, you hurt anywhere else besides your hands?" Marcus shook his head. "Just smoke. My throat." Hawk nodded slowly. "EMT says your lungs need monitoring. They want to take you both to the hospital." He paused. "You got family we should call?" The question Marcus had been dreading. He looked down at his burned hands, at the cheap bandages the paramedic had wrapped them in. "No, sir. No family at all. Not anymore." The words hung heavy. Hawk's jaw tightened. Something flickered in his eyes. "Where have you been staying, Marcus?" Here it was, the moment when everything got complicated. But something about the way Hawk was looking at him, not with judgment, but with genuine concern, made the truth slip out. "Behind the school, mostly." Hawk closed his eyes briefly, like the answer physically hurt him. When he opened them again, they were hard with something that might have been anger, but not at Marcus. "How long?" 7 months. One of the other bikers, a bald guy with a scar running down his cheek, cursed under his breath. "Jesus, a kid your age living rough." Hawk stood rubbing his face with one hand. He looked at his brothers. Some silent communication passed between them, quick and efficient, as men who'd ridden together for years and learned to speak without words. Then Hawk turned back to Marcus. "Listen to me carefully. You saved my little girl. She's everything to me. You understand everything." Marcus nodded. "That means you're under our protection now. Club law. You don't sleep behind buildings anymore. You don't go hungry. You don't face the world alone." Hawk's voice was steel wrapped in velvet. A command, not an offer. "You're with us." Marcus blinked, certain he'd heard wrong. I What? You heard me. But I'm nobody. Hawk's expression softened in a way that transformed his entire face. You ran into fire for a kid you didn't know. That ain't nobody's son. That's somebody with more heart than most men twice your age. The ambulance driver called out, "We need to transport both kids now." Hawk nodded. "Go ahead, we're following." He looked at Marcus. "I'll be right behind you, Marcus. You ain't alone anymore." As the ambulance pulled away, sirens wailing, Marcus watched through the rear window. The Hells Angels mounted their bikes in perfect synchronization. 12 motorcycles fell into formation behind the ambulance like an honor guard, engines rumbling in unison. Sophia sat across from him, oxygen mask still in place, but her eyes were clearer now. She reached out and touched his hand, careful of the burns. "Thank you," she whispered. "You're really brave." Marcus didn't feel brave. He felt confused and scared and overwhelmed. But he managed a small smile. "Just glad you're okay." The hospital came into view. St. Mary's Medical Center, a place Marcus had been once before when his mother was dying. He'd hoped never to come back. But as the ambulance backed into the emergency bay and those 12 motorcycles parked in a perfect line, Marcus realized something. This time was different. This time he wasn't alone. The ER erupted into controlled chaos. Nurses appeared from everywhere. Doctors barked orders. Machines beeped. Monitors flickered to life. Hawk stayed glued to Sophia's side, one massive hand gripping hers. Marcus was placed in the next bay, separated only by a thin curtain. He could hear Sophia coughing, hear Hawk's voice murmuring reassurances, hear the doctor explaining protocols. His own doctor, a woman with kind eyes, checked his lungs, examined his throat, treated the burns on his palms. "You're lucky," she said, wrapping clean bandages around his hands. "Another minute in there and—" She didn't finish. Didn't need to. When she left, Marcus stared at the ceiling tiles and tried to process everything. Hours ago, he'd been nobody. Invisible. Now he was connected to the Hells Angels. The thought should have terrified him. But Hawk's eyes hadn't been violent. They'd been grateful. Protective. The curtain pulled back. Hawk stepped through his massive frame, seeming to shrink the already small space. He pulled a chair close and sat heavily. "Sophia's stable," he said. "Doc says she'll be okay, thanks to you." Marcus nodded, unsure what to say. Hawk leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "I need to ask you something, Marcus, and I need you to be straight with me. Can you do that?" "Yes, sir." "You got any enemies? Anyone who'd want to hurt you?" Marcus frowned, confused. "No, I'm nobody. Why would—" "The fire chief just gave me a preliminary report." Hawk's jaw tightened. "That fire, it wasn't an accident. Someone said it. In the East Wing. Right where Sophia's classroom was." The words took a moment to register. When they did, Marcus felt ice slide down his spine. "Someone on purpose." "Yeah, and they knew Sophia would be there. First period, same classroom every Monday." Hawk's hands clenched into fists. "Someone tried to kill my daughter, Marcus." Marcus felt his mouth go dry. "But why? She's just a kid." "Because I made enemies. Men who'd go after my family to hurt me." Hawk's voice dropped to barely above a whisper. "Men who don't care about collateral damage." They sat in silence. Hospital sounds continued around them. Pages over the intercom, wheels squeaking, distant conversations. "Hawk," Marcus said quietly. "Are you in trouble, is Sophia?" Hawk exhaled slowly. "Yeah, Marcus, we might be. Which is why I need to know if you saw anything this morning. Anyone hanging around the school before the fire. Anything strange." Marcus thought back. In the chaos and fear, most of the morning was a blur. But there was something. A detail his survival instincts had cataloged. "There was a van," he said slowly. "Old white, parked across the street when I woke up this morning. I thought it was weird because it wasn't there yesterday." Hawk straightened immediately. "You remember anything else about it?" Marcus closed his eyes, trying to see it again. "Had rust on the side panel, lots of it, and the windows were tinted dark, really dark." "That's good. That's really good. Anything else?" "There was a sticker, red and yellow, on the back bumper. Couldn't read what it said from where I was." Hawk pulled out his phone and started typing rapidly. You just gave us more than the cops got, kid. He stood. I'll be right back. Gotta make some calls. Hawk stepped through the curtain, and Marcus heard low, urgent conversations in the hallway. After 10 minutes, Hawk returned with the scarred biker Spike and another man. Wiry, sharp eyes. The patch on his jacket said Jax. Marcus, Hawk said carefully, we need to talk about what happens next. Okay. You can't go back to living behind that school. It's not safe, and with whoever started that fire still out there. He trailed off. Marcus felt his chest tighten. Here it came. Social services, the system. I want you to come stay at the clubhouse, Hawk continued, just until we sort this out and make sure it's safe. Marcus looked between them, searching for any sign of deception, but he saw only sincerity. How long? Marcus asked. Hawk's expression grew darker. Could be days, could be longer, but you'll have a bed, food, protection. He paused. And if you want, we can help you figure out something more permanent. School a real place to live. Before Marcus could respond, a commotion erupted in the hallway. Raised voices, heavy footsteps. Then Sophia screamed, "Somebody down!" Hawk was through the curtain in an instant, Spike and Jax right behind him. Marcus scrambled off the bed and followed. The scene in the hallway froze his blood. 3 men in dark clothes, faces covered with ski masks, had pushed past hospital security. One had Sophia, his hand clamped over her mouth, dragging her backward toward the emergency exit. She struggled, thrashing, but he was too strong. Hawk roared a sound of pure rage. He charged forward, but the second man pulled a gun. Everything slowed down. The gun came up. Hawk didn't stop, too consumed by the need to reach his daughter. The shot echoed like thunder, but Hawk kept coming. The bullet had grazed his shoulder, blood spreading across his leather jacket, but rage and adrenaline overrode the pain. He collided with the gunman like a freight train. They both went down in a tangle of fists and fury. The gun skittered across the floor. Spike and Jax hit the other 2 men simultaneously. Chaos erupted. Patients screamed, nurses ducked. And in the confusion, Marcus saw Sophia slip from her captor's grip. She stumbled toward the wall, sobbing, terrified. Marcus didn't think. He just moved. He grabbed Sophia, pulling her behind him, positioning his thin body between her and the violence. She clutched at his hospital gown, her face buried against his back. The fight was brutal but brief. Within 90 seconds, all 3 attackers were on the ground, restrained, bleeding. Security and police flooded in. Hawk staggered to his feet, blood streaming from his shoulder. His eyes were wild, searching. Sophia. Here, Daddy. Her voice was small. Marcus got me. I'm okay. Hawk turned and saw them, Marcus standing protective over his daughter. And something in Hawk's expression shifted, deepened. This homeless boy had now protected his daughter twice in one day. Police swarmed, questions flew. The attackers were cuffed and dragged away. EMTs descended on Hawk, forcing him to sit while they treated his shoulder. Through it all, Marcus kept Sophia close. A detective approached them. Son, I need to ask you some questions. Marcus looked at Hawk, who nodded. The detective was methodical. What time did Marcus see the men? Could he identify them? Any distinguishing features? Marcus answered truthfully, describing everything. The way they moved, the gun, the tattoo on one man's wrist. A snake, maybe. When it was done, the detective closed his notebook. Kid, you've had one hell of a day. Yes, sir. Hours passed before things calmed down. The hospital went into lockdown. Hawk's shoulder injury was minor, but the doctors wanted him for observation. Hawk refused to let Sophia out of his sight. Marcus stayed too, refusing to leave. Finally, around midnight, they were released. The clubhouse was deemed safer than any hospital room. Hawk carried a sleeping Sophia to his bike. Spike led Marcus to another bike, chrome gleaming under the parking lot lights. Ever ridden before? Spike asked. No, sir. Hold on tight. Spike handed him a helmet. And Marcus. Welcome to the family. As they rode through the dark streets, surrounded by brothers' engines rumbling in synchronization, Marcus felt something he hadn't felt in years. Safe. The clubhouse appeared from the darkness like a fortress. High chain link fence topped with barbed wire. Security lights mounted at every angle. Cameras everywhere, their red recording lights blinking steadily. This wasn't just a hangout. This was a compound built to keep threats out and families safe inside. The gate rolled open as they approached. They rode through in formation. The gate closed behind them with a heavy clang that sounded like safety locking into place. Hawk carried Sophia inside while the rest of the club secured the perimeter. Marcus followed Spike through heavy steel doors into warmth that was almost shocking after the cold night air. The interior surprised him. Leather couches worn comfortable from years of use. A long bar with stools, bottles gleaming behind it. Pool tables, a big screen TV, photos covering the walls, decades of brotherhood captured in fading images. It felt lived in, loved, like a home. Bathroom's that way, Spike pointed. You hungry? Marcus nodded. He was always hungry. I'll get you something. Go clean up first. The bathroom mirror showed Marcus just how rough he looked. Soot-stained face, singed hair, hollow cheeks from months of malnutrition, eyes that looked too old for 13. He scrubbed at his skin with shaking hands, watching the water turn gray as ash and dirt swirled down the drain. When he emerged, a plate waited on the bar. Real food. A burger still hot. Fries. Fresh fruit. Marcus stared at it before sitting down. He ate slowly, forcing himself not to devour it too fast. Every bite tasted like a miracle. Hawk appeared, Sophia still in his arms but awake now. He settled her on one of the couches with blankets and pillows before joining Marcus at the bar. You good? Hawk asked, ordering a whiskey. Yeah, thank you, for the food. It's the least we can do. Hawk's whiskey arrived and he took a long drink. Marcus, I need to tell you something. Those men at the hospital, they're connected to a crew we've had problems with. The Iron Vipers. Marcus swallowed his bite of burger. Vipers, rival club. Been trying to muscle into our territory for years. Hawk's jaw clenched. They knew hitting Sophia would hurt me worse than any bullet. But they failed. Twice. Because of you. I just did what anyone would. No, Marcus. Hawk cut him off gently but firmly. Most people would have filmed it on their phones, would have called for help and waited. You acted. Twice. That takes heart. The kind of heart we value. Marcus didn't know how to respond. Point is, Hawk continued, the Vipers know they failed. They know you're involved now. That makes you a target too. Fear spiked through Marcus' chest. Me, but I'm nobody. Why would they? You're somebody to Sophia. That makes you somebody to me. And to them. Hawk's voice carried weight. Which is why you're staying here. Protected. Until we handle this. Handle it how? Hawk just looked at him, no words needed. Marcus understood. Sophia called out from the couch. Marcus, can you come here? He went to her, sitting on the edge. She looked so small, wrapped in blankets. Thank you, she said simply. Again, you keep saving me. You don't have to keep thanking me. Yes, I do, because you keep doing things worth thanking. She smiled. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're safe. Marcus felt something shift inside him. The wall he'd built over 7 months of survival beginning to crack. From across the room, Hawk watched them. His daughter and this boy who'd appeared from nowhere to save her, to protect her, to stand between her and harm without hesitation. And Garrett Hawk Reagan made a decision that would change all their lives. This boy wasn't leaving. Not to go back to the streets. Not to be swallowed by a broken system. Not to face the world alone ever again. Marcus Daniels had saved his daughter. Now Hawk was going to save him. Whatever it took. The days that followed brought a rhythm Marcus had never known. Morning light through curtains instead of frost on concrete. The smell of coffee brewing instead of rotting garbage. Voices calling good morning instead of silence. He had a room. Small, yes, but his. A bed with sheets. A closet with clothes that fit. A window that looked out over the compound, safe behind high fences. But more than the physical comforts, Marcus was learning what it meant to belong. To be part of something bigger than survival. Sophia attached herself to Marcus with a fierceness that surprised everyone. Every morning she'd knock on his door, bouncing with energy. Marcus, you awake? Can we have breakfast together? And Marcus would smile and follow her to the kitchen where the club was already gathering. Brothers nodding good morning, coffee being poured, the comfortable chaos of family. But beneath the normalcy, tension simmered. The angels were preparing for something. Marcus could feel it in the way conversations stopped when he entered rooms, in the long meetings behind closed doors, in the weapons being cleaned and checked. The Vipers weren't done. Everyone knew it. On the fourth morning, Hawk pulled Marcus aside after breakfast. "Walk with me." They went to the garage. Hawk's bike sat in the center bay, chrome gleaming. He ran his hand along the fuel tank, a gesture that was clearly habit. "You settling in okay?" "Yes, sir. Everyone's been really kind." Hawk nodded. "They respect what you did." He looked at Marcus directly. "Sophia talks about you constantly. You know that?" Marcus felt his cheeks warm. "She's a good kid." "She's my whole world." Hawk's voice carried weight. 3 years ago, when her mother died, I thought I'd lost everything that mattered. Cancer took Elizabeth slowly. Sophia was 8, old enough to understand, but too young to process it. I had to be strong for her, had to keep the club running. I was drowning Marcus. Marcus didn't know what to say. This hard man was showing him vulnerability. "I tell you this because I want you to understand something. When I look at you, I see more than the kid who saved my daughter. I see someone who knows what loss feels like. Who understands that family isn't just blood. It's who shows up when everything falls apart." "My mom," Marcus said quietly. "She died 7 months ago. Lung cancer. We couldn't afford treatment. She just got worse until she was gone." Hawk's hand settled on Marcus's shoulder, heavy and warm. "I'm sorry, son. That's a hell of a thing for anyone, let alone a kid your age." They stood in silence, two people bound by loss. "The Vipers," Marcus finally said. "They're not done, are they?" "No." Hawk's jaw tightened. "Derek Morrison, the man who runs them, he's had it out for me for 15 years. Goes back to my brother Danny. The one in the photo, the one I look like." "Yeah, Danny was 15 when he died. Motorcycle accident, but it wasn't an accident. Vipers ran him off the road because I'd stopped them from moving drugs through Riverside. They killed a kid to make a point." The brutality hit Marcus like a blow. "They murdered your brother." "Could never prove it. No witnesses, no evidence. Just tire marks and a dead boy." Hawk's voice was rough with old anger. "Morrison escaped justice then. Now he's back going after Sophia to finish what he started." Marcus understood then. This wasn't just territorial. This was personal. Blood vendetta that had been simmering for 15 years. What happens now? Now we prepare. We make sure that when they come, and they will come, we're ready. Hawk looked at Marcus seriously. "When things get bad, you stay with Sophia. You protect her. That's your job. Understand?" "I understand." That afternoon, Jack started teaching Marcus and Sophia self-defense. Not formal martial arts, but street fighting. Dirty, effective techniques designed for survival. "You're small," Jack said, circling Sophia. "Use that. Get in close where bigger opponents can't get leverage. Eyes, throat, groin. No such thing as fighting fair when someone's trying to hurt you." Sophia absorbed every word with intense focus. This wasn't a game to her. She understood the stakes. Marcus watched her practice and felt something protective rise in his chest. No one was going to hurt her again. During a water break, Sophia sat next to Marcus. "You know what I realized?" she said. "What?" "I'm not scared anymore. I mean, I am, but it's different. Before, when Mom was sick, I was scared of being alone. Scared Dad would leave too, somehow." She took a drink of water. "But now I have you. Even if bad things happen, I'm not alone." Marcus felt his throat tighten. "You're not alone. I promise." She leaned her head against his shoulder. This was what family felt like. Not just shared DNA, but chosen connection. The calm lasted 3 more days. Then the call came. Marcus was in his room reading when he heard Hawk's voice, sharp and commanding. "Everyone now, common room." The brothers assembled quickly. Marcus and Sophia stood at the edge watching as Spike laid out a map on the pool table. "Intelligence just came through," Spike said. "Vipers are planning a major move. They're coming for the clubhouse itself." Murmurs ran through the gathered angels. When Hawk asked, "On tomorrow, at least 20 men, maybe more. Weapons, explosives. They want to end this permanently." Reaper, an older angel with a gray beard, spoke up. "We can't evacuate. If we run, they'll hunt us down one by one. We make our stand here." Nods of agreement. Hawk's gaze swept the room. "We've got tonight to prepare. Defensive positions, ammunition, medical supplies. We contact the other chapters, get back up en route. When the Vipers come, they regret ever threatening our family. The brothers dispersed. Years of brotherhood had taught them to work as a unit. Hawk approached Marcus and Sophia. His face was grave. You two are going to the safe room. Basement level, reinforced walls, one entrance we can defend. Food, water, medical supplies. For how long? Marcus asked. However long it takes. Sophia's hand found Marcus's. Will you be okay, Dad? Hawk knelt down to her eye level. Baby, I've been doing this a long time. We're prepared, we're ready, and we're fighting for what matters. But his eyes told a different story. This was dangerous. I love you, Sophia. Never forget that. I love you too, Daddy. Hawk pulled her into a hug, and over her shoulder he met Marcus' gaze. A silent communication. Protect her, no matter what. Marcus nodded. He understood. That evening, Marcus helped Sophia pack a bag, clothes her favorite stuffed animal, a photo of her mother, small comforts for what might be a long night underground. Are you scared? She asked quietly. Marcus thought about lying, but Sophia deserved honesty. Yeah, I'm scared. Me too, she zipped her bag, but I'm glad you're with me. You're stronger than you know, Sophia. She looked at him with eyes that seemed too old for her face. My mom used to say that courage isn't not being afraid. It's being afraid and doing what you have to do anyway. Your mom sounds like she was pretty smart. She was the best, Sophia's voice caught. I miss her every day. I miss my mom too, Marcus admitted. But I think they'd both be proud of us for not giving up, for finding family even when we lost them. Sophia hugged him suddenly, fiercely. You're my family now, you and Dad. Nothing's going to change that. Marcus hugged her back. Nothing, he agreed. At midnight, Hawk came to get them. The clubhouse was transformed. Weapons staged at windows, brothers in position, the air thick with anticipation. The safe room was exactly as Hawk described. Basement-level access through a hidden door behind the bar. Steel-reinforced walls, one entrance with a heavy door, shelves stocked with supplies. It felt like a bunker, because that's exactly what it was. Hawk helped them settle in, showed Marcus where everything was. The emergency radio, the first aid kit, the weapon locked in a cabinet. You know how to use this, Hawk asked, indicating the pistol. Marcus shook his head. Hawk gave him a quick lesson. Safety on, safety off. How to aim, how to fire. Only if you have to, only if they get through us, which they won't. But just in case. Then he turned to Sophia. Baby, I need you to be brave. Can you do that for me? I'm always brave when Marcus is here. Hawk's expression softened. He looked at Marcus, and in that look was a world of gratitude and trust. Thank you, he said simply, for everything. Then he was gone, the heavy door closing with a solid thunk, and Marcus and Sophia were alone in their bunker, waiting for war. The first hour passed in tense silence. They could hear muffled sounds from above. Footsteps, voices, the occasional clang of metal. Sophia tried to read but couldn't focus. Marcus attempted homework, but the words swam meaninglessly. They ended up sitting together on one of the cots, backs against the wall. Tell me a story, Sophia said. Something happy, from before. Marcus thought back, before his mother got sick. When I was 8, my mom took me to the beach. We didn't have much money, but she'd saved up for months. We drove 4 hours, stayed in the cheapest motel, and spent 2 days just being together. What did you do? Built sandcastles, splashed in the waves, ate ice cream that melted faster than we could lick it. Marcus smiled at the memory. Mom laughed so much that weekend. I remember thinking I'd never heard her laugh like that before. Free. Happy. That sounds perfect. It was. I didn't know it then, but that was the last really good memory I have of her healthy. 6 months later, she started coughing. Sophia squeezed his hand. I'm glad you have that memory. What about you? What's your favorite memory of your mom? Sophia's face lit up. There was this one Christmas. I was 7 and Mom went all out. Decorated the whole house, baked cookies. Dad was on a run with the club, wasn't supposed to be back until after New Year. But Christmas morning I wake up and there's Dad home early and Mom's crying happy tears. And we all sat together, just the 3 of us, opening presents and eating cinnamon rolls and watching Christmas movies. She smiled through tears. It was perfect. We were all together, all safe, all happy. They sat in comfortable silence, two kids holding on to memories of better times. Then just before dawn, the attack began. The first sound was an explosion, distant but powerful enough that the walls shook. Sophia grabbed Marcus' hand, her eyes wide. "It's okay," Marcus said, trying to sound confident. "The clubhouse is strong. We're safe down here." More explosions. Closer now. The unmistakable crack of gunfire, rapid and sustained. Shouts, though the words were indistinct through the walls. Sophia's breathing quickened. Marcus pulled her close. "Listen to me. Your dad is up there. The brothers are up there. They're trained, they're ready, and they're fighting for us. We stay here, we stay quiet, and we trust them. Okay." Sophia nodded against his chest, her small body trembling. The battle raged above them, minutes stretching into eternities. The sounds of war filtering down through steel and concrete. Each explosion made them flinch. Each burst of gunfire made their hearts race. Marcus tried to track the fight by sound. The Vipers had breached the outer wall, that much was clear. But the Angels were fighting back, holding positions. Time lost meaning, could have been 20 minutes or 2 hours. Then silence, sudden and complete. Marcus and Sophia sat frozen, barely breathing, straining to hear anything. Footsteps above, heavy and deliberate. The radio crackled to life. Hawk's voice rough but steady. "Marcus, Sophia, it's over. We held. You can come up." Marcus hesitated. Could it be a trick? But no, that was definitely Hawk's voice. He unlocked the door and pushed it open carefully. The bar area above was damaged but intact. Smoke hung in the air. But through it, angels were moving, injured but alive. Hawk appeared at the top of the stairs, blood on his shirt but walking under his own power. His face lit up when he saw them. Thank God. Sophia ran to him and he caught her, lifting her, despite his obvious exhaustion. Marcus climbed the stairs more slowly, taking in the damage. Bullet holes in walls, shattered windows, scorch marks from explosives. But the clubhouse stood, and the brothers were alive. Spike limped over a bandage around his thigh. Hell of a morning. "Everyone okay?" Marcus asked. "Few injuries, nothing critical. We got lucky." Spike's grin was fierce. Vipers got their asses handed to them. Half their force down, the rest ran when police showed up. Police sirens wailed in the distance, growing closer. Hawk set Sophia down and placed a hand on Marcus' shoulder. "You did good, kid. Kept her safe. That's all that mattered." Marcus looked around at the damage, at the brothers tending wounds, at Sophia safe beside her father. "Is it really over?" "Yeah," Hawk said. "It's really over. Vipers are finished. Leaderships in custody clubs disbanded. The threat's gone." And just like that, the war was done. The police investigation took days. Statements from everyone. Evidence collected. The story that emerged was clear. The Vipers had initiated the attack, the Angels had defended themselves. Derek Morrison was arrested, attempting to flee the state. Charged with arson, attempted murder, assault with deadly weapons. He was looking at decades in prison. At his arraignment, Hawk sat in the gallery with Sophia and Marcus. Morrison was brought in hands-cuffed, looking smaller than the monster Marcus had imagined. Their eyes met across the courtroom. Morrison's filled with hate. Hawk's steady. "This isn't over," Morrison mouthed. Hawk just smiled grimly and put his arm around Sophia. It was over. True to his word, Hawk started the process of becoming Marcus' legal guardian. Social services came to investigate. The social worker, a tired woman named Mrs. Patterson, looked at Marcus in his clean clothes, well-fed, bright-eyed, for the first time in months. Looked at the way Hawk and Sophia interacted with him. "This is unconventional," she admitted. "But I've seen conventional fail kids like Marcus too many times. You're giving him stability, safety, family. That's what matters." 6 months later, in a courthouse that smelled of old wood, a judge signed the papers. Marcus Daniels legally became Marcus Daniels Reagan. The courtroom was small, but every angel who could be there was. Brothers standing as family. Witnesses to transformation. When the judge said, "Congratulations, you're officially a family," Sophia launched herself at Marcus with such force they nearly fell over. "You're my brother, my real brother, forever." Marcus hugged her back, crying openly. "Forever," he agreed. Hawk pulled them both into his arms. My kids, he said, voice rough with emotion. Both of you, my kids. The celebration at the clubhouse that night was legendary. Music loud enough to rattle windows, food enough to feed an army, laughter and stories and joy. Marcus stood on the edge watching. 6 months ago, he'd been nobody, invisible, forgotten. Now he was surrounded by family. Not the family he was born into, but the family he'd found. Sophia appeared at his elbow. Come on, you have to hear this story. Marcus let her pull him into the crowd, into the warmth and noise and belonging. He was home. Life settled into normalcy after that. Marcus started school properly. 8th grade at Riverside Middle, the same school he'd saved from burning. Teachers knew who he was. Some looked at him with suspicion, others with pity. But Marcus just kept his head down and worked, caught up on months of missed education, discovered he was good at math, found he loved reading. Sophia was in 6th grade. She'd point him out to her friends with obvious pride. That's my brother. He saved my life. And Marcus would duck his head, embarrassed but pleased. The Angels became his extended family. Spike taught him to work on motorcycles. Jax took him shooting at the range. Reaper showed him how to play pool. But it was Hawk who mattered most. Hawk, who checked his homework every night, who came to parent-teacher conferences, who sat him down for serious talks about choices and consequences and the kind of man he wanted to become. You've got potential, Marcus, Hawk said one evening. They were in the garage working on Hawk's bike. But potential doesn't mean anything if you don't use it. I'm trying. I know you are, and I'm proud of you. Hawk looked at him seriously. But I need you to understand something. This world's got a way of pulling people down, especially kids who have been through what you've been through. It would be easy to give up. I won't. I believe you. But I also want you to know that I'm here. Whatever you need, you come to me. That's what fathers are for. Father. The word hit Marcus. Hawk was his father now, legally. But more than that, he was choosing to be Marcus' father every single day. Thank you, Marcus said, voice rough, for seeing me when no one else did. Hawk pulled him into a rough hug. You made yourself impossible to miss, kid. Running into fire tends to get people's attention. They both laughed. Sophia thrived too. The trauma faded as stability surrounded her. She joined the school's drama club, discovered she loved performing, made friends easily. But she never forgot. Once a month, she and Marcus visited the memorial plaque at the school, stood together in silence. Do you ever think about what would have happened if you hadn't been there? Sophia asked one day. Marcus considered. Sometimes, but I was there. That's what matters. I think about it a lot. How close I came. How different everything would be. She looked at him. I wouldn't have a brother. Dad wouldn't have you. Our whole family wouldn't exist. But it does exist. We're here. Yeah, she smiled. We are. The first year passed, then the second. Marcus grew taller, filled out with regular meals. His grades improved steadily. He made the basketball team, discovered he was fast. Hawk came to every game, sitting in the stands with Sophia, cheering loud enough to embarrass Marcus, but secretly making him proud. Sophia turned 13, then 14, growing into a young woman smart and confident and kind. She never forgot what it felt like to be helpless, and it made her fierce about protecting others. She volunteered at the homeless shelter with Marcus and Hawk, served meals, sorted donations, talked to kids living rough the way Marcus once had. You never know who you're talking to, Marcus would say. Could be someone who just needs one person to believe in them. The Hells Angels embraced them both fully. Marcus wasn't just Hawk's adopted son. He was part of the family. And while he was too young to wear the patch, everyone knew he'd earn it someday if he chose that path. But Marcus was thinking about other futures. College, social work, helping kids who'd fallen through the cracks. Hawk supported him completely. Whatever you choose, I'm behind you. Club life isn't for everyone. But I'll always be family. Always, Hawk agreed. On the 3rd anniversary of the fire, the school held a special assembly, honoring Marcus's bravery, recognizing the first responders. Marcus stood on a stage, uncomfortable with the attention, as the principal spoke about courage and sacrifice. Sophia sat in the front row, beaming. Afterward, reporters wanted interviews. The homeless boy who became a hero and found a family. Marcus kept it simple. I did what anyone should do, help someone in need. And because of that, I found people who helped me. That's what matters. Not just individual courage, but communities that take care of each other. The story ran that evening. Phone calls came in. Other families who'd taken in foster kids. Organizations working with homeless youth. Hawk fielded the calls protecting Marcus from being overwhelmed. But he passed along the meaningful ones. Opportunities to speak to advocate. You've got a voice now, Hawk said. People listen to you. That's a gift. Use it wisely. Marcus took that seriously, started speaking at schools about homelessness, partnered with local organizations, became an advocate. Sophia joined him sometimes. Together they were powerful, two kids who'd survived trauma and come out fighting. The years continued. Marcus turned 16, got his driver's license, learned to ride a motorcycle. Your mother would kill me if anything happened to you, Hawk joked. Then his face grew serious. Both your mothers, Sarah and Elizabeth, I think about them sometimes. Wonder if they're watching. Hope they're proud of what we've built. I think they are, Marcus said. Sophia turned 16 too, smart and beautiful. Boys started calling and Hawk became the intimidating father. She rolled her eyes but secretly loved it. Overprotective much, she teased. Always, Hawk replied. That's my job. But he trusted her judgment, trusted both his kids. Senior year came. Marcus applied to colleges, wrote essays about his experiences, about loss and survival, and found family. Acceptance letters arrived, scholarship offers. Marcus had options for the first time in his life. He chose a state school 3 hours away, close enough to come home weekends, far enough to grow. Social work major focused on youth services. Sophia cried when he told her, "You're leaving." "Not leaving, just growing. And I'll be back all the time, promise. It won't be the same." "No," Marcus agreed. "But that's okay. Things change. We grow up, but family stays family." Graduation day arrived. Marcus walked across the stage in his cap and gown. Hawk stood and cheered Sophia beside him, screaming herself hoarse. The entire motorcycle club in attendance. The valedictorian mentioned Marcus in her speech. Courage comes in many forms. Sometimes it's running into fire to save someone. Sometimes it's surviving when the world gives you every reason to give up. Marcus Daniels Reagan showed us both. After the ceremony, they gathered at the clubhouse. Marcus stood surrounded by family. Sophia hanging on his arm. Hawk's hand heavy on his shoulder. "Proud of you, son," Hawk said. "So damn proud. Couldn't have done it without you." That's what family's for. Summer passed in a blur, working at the clubhouse garage, riding with the angels, spending time with Sophia before everything changed. They went to the beach, Marcus and Sophia and Hawk. They built sandcastles, splashed in the waves, ate ice cream that melted faster than they could lick it, and Hawk laughed free and happy watching his kids play in the surf. "This is good," he said to Spike. "This is what it's all about. Not the territory, not the power, just this, family." "You did good, brother," Spike said, taking that kid in. "Look at what he became." "He was always this," Hawk corrected. "I just gave him space to show it." College started in September. Hawk and Sophia drove Marcus to campus, helped him move into his dorm. The room was small, shared with a stranger, but it was his. Sophia hugged him tight. "Call me every day." Every day might be excessive. "I don't care. You're my brother." "I'll call, promise." Hawk's goodbye was quieter, just a hug and a rough, "Love you, son." "Love you too, Dad." They drove away, leaving Marcus standing in front of his dorm, alone but not lonely, ready for whatever came next. College was hard, the academics he could handle, but being away from family was difficult. He called home often, talked to Sophia about her junior year, talked to Hawk about his classes, about struggling to find his place. "Feeling lost is normal," Hawk said. "You're figuring out who you are outside of us. That's healthy, but remember, we're always here." Marcus came home for Thanksgiving. The clubhouse had never looked so good. Sophia tackled him at the door. Hawk pulled him into a hug. It felt like coming home. Because it was home. They volunteered at the shelter on Thanksgiving Day. Served turkey to people living rough. Marcus saw himself in their faces. the boy he had been. But he wasn't. He'd been seen, saved, given a chance. And now he was paying it forward. Years marched on. Marcus graduated college with honors, master's degree in social work, job offers from organizations across the state. He chose Riverside, came home, started working with homeless youth, providing services his younger self would have desperately needed. Sophia graduated high school, headed to college, pre-med planning to become a pediatrician. Kids saved me, she said. You and the kids I volunteered with. Now I want to save them. Hawk grew older, but no less vital. Gray filled his beard completely. Lines deepened around his eyes. But his spirit remained strong. On the 10th anniversary of the fire, they gathered at the memorial. Marcus, Sophia, Hawk. But Marcus just stood with his family and remembered. The cold morning, the flames, the girl trapped behind glass, the decision to run toward danger, the moment that changed everything. Afterward at the clubhouse, the Angels threw a party, 10 years of family. Hawk raised a glass. 10 years ago, a skinny homeless kid ran into fire to save my daughter. Today, that kid is my son, a college graduate, a man of character who's helping hundreds of other kids find their way. His voice caught. Marcus, you saved Sophia that day, but you saved me too, gave me hope, reminded me what matters. Marcus stood, his own glass raised. You gave me everything, a home, a family, a future. I was nobody, invisible. You saw me, and that made all the difference. Sophia wiped tears. You're both going to make me cry, Bone. Too late, Hawk laughed, wiping his own eyes. The celebration continued late into the night. Music, laughter, stories retold but never getting old. Marcus built Safe Harbor Youth Services from the ground up, a nonprofit that became a model across California. He married Clara Teacher. They had 2 children, Sarah named after Marcus's mother, and Daniel named after the brother Hawk had lost. Hawk watched his grandchildren grow with joy he'd never expected. Sarah had Marcus's quiet determination. Daniel had Sophia's fierce protectiveness. Sophia became Dr. Sophia Reagan, pediatric oncologist. She'd chosen the specialty deliberately. Cancer had taken her mother. Now she fought it every day. The clubhouse remained the center of their world. Sunday dinners were sacred, 3 generations gathering around tables that had seen decades of brotherhood. On Marcus's 40th birthday, Hawk pulled him aside. They walked to the garage where it had all started. I want to talk to you about something, Hawk said. His hair was white now, his movements slower, but his eyes remained sharp. I'm 70. Time to start thinking about the future. You've got years left, Marcus protested. Maybe, maybe not. Either way, I want things settled. Hawk sat on his bike. The clubhouse, the property, it all goes to you and Sophia when I'm gone. Dad, let me finish. Safe Harbor, what you've built, it matters. You're changing lives the way I changed yours. That's legacy, Marcus. I learned from the best. Hawk smiled. You learn to see people, to help without expecting anything back, to build family from strangers. Those are the things that matter. He stood, gripped Marcus's shoulders. I'm proud of you, not just for what you've accomplished, but for who you are, the man you chose to become. I had good teachers, you, Spike, Jax, the whole club. We gave you structure, but the courage, the heart that was always yours. Marcus felt his throat tighten. Thank you for everything, for seeing me. Thank you for letting yourself be seen. They embraced 2 men bound by choice across decades. Hawk made it to 75. 5 more years of Sunday dinners and grandchildren and watching his family thrive. He died peacefully one Tuesday morning, sitting in his chair on the clubhouse porch, coffee in hand, watching sunrise. Sophia found him, called Marcus immediately. They sat with their father for a long time before making it official. Not ready to let go, the funeral was massive. Every Hells Angels chapter within 500 miles sent representatives. The church overflowed. The procession stretched for miles. Marcus gave the eulogy, his voice breaking but steady. My father saved me. Not just that morning at the hospital, not just by taking me in, but every single day after. He showed me what it means to be a man, to choose family, to see people who are invisible and say you matter. He was the best of us. The world is darker without him, but it's brighter because he was here. Sophia spoke too, tears streaming, but voice strong. My father gave me everything. After Mom died, he could have crumbled. Instead, he became both parents. He protected me, loved me, and brought me a brother I never knew I needed. He taught me that strength isn't just physical. It's choosing to show up, choosing to see people. I'll miss him until I die, but I'll carry him forward in everything I do. They buried Hawk next to Elizabeth together again after 22 years apart. Life continued. Safe Harbor expanded. Sophia saved more children. The angels kept riding. Marcus turned 50, then 60. His hair grayed, his kids grew up. Sarah became a social worker like her father. Daniel became a teacher. Both carried forward the work of seeing people. On the 50th anniversary of the fire, the city held a ceremony. Marcus stood before the crowd, 73 years old but still vital. Sophia beside him, 71, and still practicing medicine. 50 years ago, Marcus said, I made a choice. Run into fire or stay safe. I chose fire. And because of that choice, I found family, found purpose, found a life worth living. But the real story isn't about one moment of courage. It's about what Hawk Reagan did after. He saw me, really saw me, saw a homeless kid with nothing and said, you're family now. That's the lesson. Not just individual courage, but communities that choose to see each other, that help each other, that build family from strangers. The crowd applauded, but Marcus was looking at his family. Claire, Sarah and her husband, Daniel and his wife, 5 grandchildren. That evening, the extended family gathered at the clubhouse. The angels led by younger men who'd heard the stories their whole lives. Marcus's children and grandchildren. Sophia's godchildren. The clubhouse was full of life and laughter and love. Sophia joined Marcus on the porch where Hawk had spent so many evenings. You okay? Just thinking about him, about all of it. He'd be proud of what you've built, what we've all built. I hope so. I know so. Sophia leaned against the railing. We saved each other. You saved me from fire. I gave you a family. We saved Dad from drowning in grief. It's all connected. Yeah, it is. What do you want your legacy to be? Sophia asked. Marcus considered. That I saw people, that I helped when I could, that I built family from strangers and taught others to do the same. You've done that. Thousands of kids through Safe Harbor. Every person in this clubhouse. Everyone who knows the story. A young woman approached hesitantly. Maybe 20 with the wary look Marcus recognized. Excuse me, are you Marcus Reagan? I am. I wanted to thank you. I was homeless last year, 15, living in my car. Safe Harbor found me, helped me. I'm in college now, pre-social work. Marcus smiled. That's wonderful. What's your name? Jamie Morrison. Marcus froze. Morrison. Yeah, I know. Derek Morrison was my grandfather. He died in prison 10 years ago. Jamie looked down. I grew up hearing what he did, how he tried to kill you and Dr. Reagan. I'm sorry you had to carry that. I wanted you to know I'm not him. I'm choosing differently because of what you showed me. That family isn't blood. You helped me even though my grandfather tried to kill you. That changed everything. Sophia approached Jamie. Your grandfather made terrible choices, but those aren't your choices. You're writing your own story. I'm trying to. I want to work for Safe Harbor when I graduate. Help each other kids the way I was helped. Marcus offered his hand. We'd be honored to have you. As Jamie walked away, Marcus turned to Sophia. Did that just happen? Derek Morrison's granddaughter, helped by Safe Harbor, wants to become a social worker. The cycle really is broken because you chose to break it. Marcus lived to 84, long enough to see Safe Harbor celebrate its 50th anniversary, long enough to see Jamie Morrison graduate and join the team, long enough to hold his first great-grandchild. He died peacefully, surrounded by family. His last words were simple. I was seen. I saw others. We built family. That's enough. At his funeral, hundreds gathered. 3 generations of people he'd helped directly. Thousands more whose lives he'd touched indirectly. Sarah gave the eulogy. My father taught me that courage isn't a single act. It's a lifetime of choices. Every day he chose to see people others missed. Every day he chose to help. Every day he chose family. He was 13 years old, homeless and forgotten when he ran into fire. That moment defined him. But it was the years after that made him who he was. Daniel spoke too. Dad used to say that family is a verb, something you do not, something you are. You family people. You choose them. You show up for them. He familied everyone he met. He saw people, and in seeing them, he changed them. They buried Marcus next to Claire, near Hawk and Elizabeth. Sophia was the last one standing at the grave. 92 years old, still sharp, still fierce. We did it, she said to her brother's headstone. We broke the cycle. We paid it forward. Thousands of kids helped because you ran into fire that morning. Thank you for saving me, for being my brother. She placed a hand on the cold marble. I'll see you again, you and Dad and Mom, but not yet. Still got work to do. Sophia lived 5 more years, practicing medicine until her body couldn't anymore. She died at 97, peaceful and content. Her last words, tell them the story. Never stop telling the story. And they didn't. The story of Marcus Reagan and Sophia Reagan and Garrett Hawk Reagan became legend in Riverside, then across California, then nationally. The homeless boy who ran into fire, the biker who chose compassion, the family built from courage. Schools taught it. Organizations used it. Families told it to their children. 100 years after that October morning, Franklin Middle School held a centennial ceremony. A young girl, 13 years old, living in her family's car, listened to the story with special attention. Afterwards, she approached a teacher. Is it true someone really helped him just for being brave? Yes, Hawk Reagan saw Marcus and chose to help, built a family, changed it everything. The girl hesitated. I'm living in a cave with my mom and little sister. I haven't told anyone. The teacher's face softened. Thank you for telling me. Let's figure this out together. You're not invisible. I see you. And just like that, the story continued. One more child seen, one more person choosing to help, one more ripple from a morning 100 years ago. The fire Marcus Reagan ran into never went out. It just kept spreading, lighting the way for others, showing that courage echoes, that family is choice, that being seen and seeing others is what makes us human. The clubhouse still stands, historical landmark now, museum to the story, but also still, functional still, hosting Sunday dinners for descendants of the original angels. Safe Harbor still operates, locations across the country. Tens of thousands of kids helped annually. Every facility with Marcus's words engraved at the entrance. I was invisible. Someone saw me. Now I see you. The memorial at the school is sacred ground. People come from around the world to touch the bronze plaque, to connect with the source of a story that changed how humanity thought about family and courage. Because some stories don't belong to their time. They belong to all time. Marcus Daniels Reagan ran into fire on a cold October morning, and that fire still burns. In every heart that chooses courage, in every hand that reaches out to help, in every family built from choice, it burns forever, lighting the way home, for anyone lost in darkness, for anyone invisible, for anyone who needs to be seen. One moment of courage, eternal consequences. That's the story. That's the truth. That's humanity at its best. And it will echo until the last person draws their last breath, because courage is eternal. Love is infinite. And family, real family, the kind built from showing up and running into fire and choosing each other every single day, that family transcends everything. It just keeps growing, keeps transforming, keeps saving people forever.